up when they look at you like, go with that. Hey, listen, what do your experience teaches you about faith? Let them be the expert on their own faith lives. Let them tell you. Because some of them might not have the language, but they want to talk about what they've experienced. Let them be the expert. When you hold true to what you say, you not only gain their respect, but they begin to see you as a leader. They're only going to follow somebody who actually invests in them. They're only going to go where you tell them to go if they actually believe that you care about them. If not, it's all a show. And that's a real hard way to bring them to Christ. Next thing. Some of these kids get put in a box a lot. Kids who have experienced loss. Somebody whose younger sister died becomes the kid whose younger sister died. And then people will talk to them completely differently. The week before, they go, hey, Jessica, it's good to see you. Anyway, okay, so we're going out this weekend? Yeah, and then they do this. They do the head tilt. Oh, hi, Jessica. Do you need help with your math? Or, in kid language, it goes like this. Because they don't know what to say, so I'm just going to kind of... I showed support, I nodded. Here's the challenge. Jessica's the same Jessica who wanted to go out last weekend. But she's now in a label. And kids put people in boxes so they can understand them. They put everything in a box, because we all do. As adults, we put things in boxes. Problem is when we, as the people who are trying to bring Christ to a child, put somebody in a box and say, well, they're the nerds, and they're the jocks, and they're all people on a journey to faith. That's where they are. That's who they are. They are not a stereotype. And the moment we buy into the stereotype, if I had bought into, well, they're jocks so they can't have any faith, so go on retreat, good luck to you. They have deep, 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 deep personal calling and longing from God going on in their hearts. Can't just take the outside. One of the ways that we can keep them out of the box is consistently, pragmatically, switching up. How do we do groups? How do we do leadership? What roles do people take? The more you can switch in your classroom, the more you can switch in your program, so that we have a mishmash of students, and then we switch to a mishmash of students, and maybe Joey, who doesn't talk today, he's going to do all the chores. And Joey's going to stand up, and he's going to post some things on the blackboard, and then Joey's going to sit down, but the next week Joey doesn't sit down, Joey doesn't do it, the jock does it. The reason we're switching up is so that Joey feels just like he's part of everything else. He's not excluded. And at one time they made the strong recommendation that you give the student who's struggling and the outsider a whole lot of leadership things, like move them to the front of the classroom and have them like present or do announcements or stuff. That's okay if the person is kind of distracting from your classroom. You can give them a little bit of something to give them a little attention. But if they're the excluded student and they're always teacher's pet, it's just excluding them more from what's going on in your world, in your programs. If they always are sitting next to the youth minister, they're not going to feel more connected to their peers. So switch it up. On the bus today, we're going to sit by birthdays. So January starts here and December ends there. Let's go. I have to sit next to somebody I don't know. Yes, but you know what day you were born. So well, I'm May, you're June. Okay, I guess we're sitting next to each other. It's not based on who my group is. It's based on what my birthday is. Something I can't control that God gave me. And then, often, to bring people together, one of the greatest things to do is to try and give them an opportunity to be creative. Everything from making collages to within a certain parameter. Making collages or designing boxes or sharing in small group. What you don't want to do, just to put it out there, what you don't want to do when a student is struggling or is tricky or is angry, really, really don't want to give no parameters and say just come on in and be as creative as you want and show me how you feel about God. Because then the student who's angry walks in and says, my poem about my relationship with God. God doesn't exist and can bite me. And sits down. Well, you just lost your class. And then you end up with the poor, unfortunate, socially awkward young lady who you didn't give proper parameters to and doesn't understand sociology of the group and maybe is struggling emotionally and relationally. And she comes in and spent all weekend creating an emotionally liturgical dance around her relationship with God. And the rest of the group goes, and then for the entire rest of the year, when your back is turned, the group kind of turns around and goes, and tortures them. So, within creative reason, students having the opportunity to share a little bit more about themselves can be a very, very good thing. Without parameters, it can get a little out of control.
Yeah, I just want to share a funny story. This just happened this past week. We have a parish picnic Sunday, okay? And I have a very shy new young lady in our youth group, but who makes balloon animals at the parish picnic. So I'm thinking, oh, Erin, bring the balloons and you can teach some of the others so we can all learn to make balloon animals at the parish picnic. Well, my Lord, it was a wild scene. It just ended up making swords and having sword battles all over the place. And my background's in teaching, and to me, like, I like structure. And I was like, I looked at this young man, he's my assistant. I said, oh my God, I can deal with this. And he looked at me and said, they're having fun. I said, you're right, they are. I was going nuts, but the kids, and she was the star of the night. That was the really cool thing, is that she was the star, teaching them how to make giraffes, and the swords were the most popular, like I said.
Of course.
But it was cool. It was really fun. And so I was really glad that we did it, but I was also going crazy myself because I'm used to structure and I wasn't working that way.
He's minister.
I have found that when we purposely mix up our kids and put them in groups that they don't want to be in, it shuts them down more. They get so mad that they just shut off.
It can. I think one of the challenges with when you mix them up is that they're gonna push back because they're out of their comfort zone. It's when you mix up and then you set them, that mixed group, with a set goal. When you mix up and just say share,
Right.
often that's, when you mix them up and say, you are competing against another mixed team, make a church out of marshmallows and popsicle sticks. Suddenly they have a goal, and we will come together as the weird mixed unit that we are, if that means we're going to make the best church with popsicle sticks. Hey, Jedi, make some popsicle sticks. I want to see a steeple. And all of a sudden, but if you sit them and expect them to figure out how to stop being who they've sold everybody they are in a 12-minute period, yeah, it's gonna send them into a. So they've got to form a new mixed group.
The technique I've seen now is just you just go at such a fast pace they don't have a chance to.
They don't have a chance to
either realize they've been had because you faked them into organizing in an uncomfortable group, or they're just too busy to get to.
Okay, we don't have time for blah blah blah. Here we go. Let's move. Da, 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 and you're gonna do this and they. All right, I guess I'm gonna have to talk to these people. And there's a lot less time to figure out they're uncomfortable. But yeah, it does happen because their social groups are how they create their identity. Adolescents, especially adolescents, and younger adolescents in particular, 7th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they create their identity by the team they're a part of. So it's very difficult for these students to be pulled from their team because that's who I am. I am my team, and that can be difficult.